Yes.
Okay, last week we began to study the last half of John chapter 8. And originally I had planned to teach it all last week, but it was too much. And you're going to find out why, because we're going to take a whole time to finish it up. There's a lot here. We're going to pick up our study tonight in John 8, verse 39. And just in review, there's so many things that Jesus had to keep repeating to the Jewish leadership. And in this particular segment of interaction with Jesus and the leadership, these are some of the things he told them. He told them that he was going away and they couldn't follow him. He told them that if they didn't believe that Jesus was God's son, they would die in their sins. He told them that when they lifted him up, they would know that he was God. You know what? As I read that, I thought about the Roman centurion who was at the foot of the cross, and when Jesus died, he said, "Surely this man was the Son of God." The Roman centurion figured it out when the Jewish leadership could not. Interesting. He told them that if they abided in him, they would be his disciples and they would know the truth, and the truth would set them free. He told them that anyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. He told them that anyone that the Son sets free is free indeed. I love that verse. I love that verse. Okay, so that's not the end, though. There's still more to come. So we're going to pick it up in verse 39 and read from 39 to 47. Um, Kathy, could you read that? Chapter 8, verses 39 to 47.
Kathy, you're muted.
Sorry. Okay. Um, Jesus points out their true identity. They answered him, Abraham is our father. Jesus said to them, if you were Abraham's children, you would be doing the works Abraham did. But now you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth that I heard from God. This is not what Abraham did. You are doing the works your father did. They said to him, we were not born of sexual immorality. We have one Father, even God. Jesus said to them, if God were your Father, you would love me, for I came from God and I am here. I came not of my own accord, but he sent me. Why do you not understand what I say? It is because you cannot bear to hear my word. You are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. How far till 49, Gary?
No, 47.
Okay. But because I tell the truth, you do not believe me. Which one of you convicts me of sin? If I tell the truth, why do you not believe me? Whoever is of God hears the words of God. The reason why you do not hear them is that you are not of God.
Well, there you are.
That's pretty strong. Jesus wasn't beating around the bush. Um, uh, Jesus continued the discussion about Abraham and told them that if they were Abraham's children, they would do what Abraham did. But instead, they were trying to kill him. So why were they seeking to kill Jesus?
Because he claimed to be God.
Yes. He told them the truth, and the truth hurt them. The fact is, they didn't want to hear the truth. Um, Abraham never tried to kill someone who spoke the truth, ever. He accepted the truth always. And they knew this. And when he told them that's a pretty big slap in the face right there. And then Jesus made the serious charge in verse 41, you are doing what your father did. The Jewish leaders quickly reacted to this charge. They said, we weren't born in sexual immorality. What do they mean by that?
But you were.
He's saying that in the Old Testament, worship of other gods was considered sexual immorality. So what they were thinking that he was accusing them of worshiping other gods. Well, he wasn't accusing them of worshiping other gods. He was accusing them of not worshiping God, which is the same thing, really. The Jews were very sensitive about this, so they quickly responded that God's our Father, God's our Father, yeah. And Jesus made it very clear that if God was their Father, they would love Jesus because he came from God. They didn't realize they're talking to the God of the universe and arguing with him and wanting to kill him, the God of the universe. It seems rather foolish to me. It seemed foolish to Jesus too. Jesus kept saying the same things over and over again about his relationship with God the Father. Same things over and over again. And then Jesus called them children of the devil. And this was a huge accusation, although it was the truth. It would have hit them like a cannon shot.
Would have been very insulting.
Yeah. Why did they not understand what Jesus said? Because Jesus clearly told them they were doing the will of their father. Who was their father?
The devil.
The devil.
Hmm.
That really hit them right between the eyes. So Jesus told them how he figured that out. It's clear. Satan is a murderer, was always a murderer. The Jews were seeking to kill Jesus. And so by doing that, they were doing Satan's business.
Yeah.
And they could not deny this because they truly were trying to come up with a way to kill Jesus. Even the people around them, earlier in the discussion, people were saying, aren't these the people that want to kill him? And then Jesus said, Satan wants nothing to do with the truth. In fact, there is no truth in the enemy, Satan. Jesus said that when Satan lies, he's speaking from his true character, according to the ESV. I like the way the NIV puts it. The NIV says that when Satan lies, he's speaking his native language. That's the best way of saying it, I believe. And he also said that Satan is the father of lies. It means Satan invented lying. God would never lie. And so the Jews could not understand what Jesus said because they couldn't tolerate the truth, just as Satan can't tolerate the truth. They were so wrapped up in themselves and in the sin that they were in. Their eyes were completely clouded to the truth. They couldn't see it. And then Jesus used another argument. He asked them if any of them could convict him of a sin. Did any of them respond with some accusation?
No.
No, they didn't.
And they would have if they had something.
If they would have, if they didn't even accuse him of healing on the Sabbath, because they knew intuitively that healing on the Sabbath wasn't a sin. They knew that intuitively, and they knew that if they tried to accuse him of that, he would have blasted him out of the water. They already tried to do that, and they lost. So no, they couldn't accuse him of any sin. So if they couldn't accuse him of a sin, why did they not believe in him?
Their eyes were blinded.
Yes. Their eyes were blinded. They were living in darkness.
By their sin and by Satan.
Yes.
No.
Jesus spoke complete truth, and they couldn't see it because they were, you know what it's like to be in pitch darkness in a room. You're in an unfamiliar room, and all of a sudden the lights go out and it's pitch dark, and your first thing is to stand still and don't move because you're afraid you're going to trip over something. And then you try to move and you trip over something because you can't see anything. That's the situation of the Jewish leaders at the time. Spiritually, they were in utter darkness. They couldn't see anything. All they could see were their own sinful desires.
But you mentioned, Gary, that, the Roman soldier knew, but Jesus wasn't a threat to the Roman soldier, where Jesus was a threat to the Pharisees.
Right.
That's right.
So that's why they didn't want to see it, because they didn't want to lose their position. Where the Roman soldier, he listened because, again, it was no
threat to
didn't
him.
affect him.
You're absolutely right, Barbara. You're absolutely right. He was a threat. They were afraid that if everybody listened to him, they would lose their position. And if he truly was the Messiah, they didn't want him to be in charge of them.
Which is amazing.
Yes. Okay, let's go to the next passage. Barbara, would you be able to read John 8, verses 48 to 59?
Okay. The Jews answered him, "Are we not right in saying that you are a Samaritan and have a demon?" Jesus answered, "I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. Yet I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks it, and he is the judge. Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death." The Jews said to him, "Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died, as did the prophets, yet you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died? And the prophets died? Who do you make yourself out to be?" Jesus answered, "If I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It is my Father who glorifies me, of whom you say, he is our God. But you have not known him. I know him. If I were to say that I do not know him, I would be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He saw it and was glad. So the Jews said to him, "Are you not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham?" Jesus said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am." So they picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple.
I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when that happened.
What a situation. Jesus really angered the Jewish leaders when he told them they were children of Satan. So they started calling Jesus names and blaspheming him. Well, that scares me, that anybody would do that right to his face. You're talking to God.
Well, we're stupid.
Yeah. They called him a Samaritan and said he was controlled by a demon. And even though the Jewish leaders were becoming very angry, Jesus was completely calm and continued to repeat the things he told them already. Truly, these people did not have an excuse and will not have any excuse when they have to stand before God at the great white throne judgment. What excuse will they have? None. Jesus told them the truth over and over again, yet they rejected him. They purposely rejected him over and over again. In this instance, Jesus reminded them that God, the Father, is the judge, and they would have to stand before him for what they were doing. Everyone will have to stand before God, the judge. The beauty of it is those of us that have trusted in Jesus, our our defense attorney is Jesus himself. And he will stand up and say, I died for them.
Reminds me of the goodometer.
Yes, it really does, doesn't it?
Oh, it was such a good.
I love that video. It's still on YouTube, you know.
It's what?
It's still on YouTube.
Oh,
I checked it out the other day. It's still out
The
there.
goodometer. Not you, him.
That's right. That was a great one.
yeah.
So in verse 51, Jesus added something. He told them that anyone who keeps his word will not see death. And was he talking about physical death? No, of course not. But the Jewish leaders couldn't get it. They didn't understand. They're spiritually blind. They're looking, everything is physical. I can touch this, I can touch this, I can touch this. That's their whole reality.
It's also willfully ignorant too.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they didn't want to hear it.
No, they didn't want to hear it. And those of us that put our trust in Jesus, put our faith in Jesus, we will not see spiritual death. Our bodies will die, but that's like a victorious event, because when our bodies die, the part of us that has the propensity to sin is gone. And we'll be completely free of sin for eternity. We will not be able to sin for eternity. And what a blessing that will be.
I know.
But for those that have not trusted in Jesus, they will die and they will spend eternity in the lake of fire and torment. That's death. That's true death. That's death. We are all created as eternal beings. When we are born to our parents, we are born and God gives us life and we become eternal beings. Whether you believe in Jesus or not, you're an eternal being. And those of us that have trusted in Jesus, we're going to live eternity in great comfort and in some of the most joyous times of anything. It'll be wonderful, because we'll be with Jesus, we'll be with God for eternity. But those who don't believe in Jesus, they're going to live for eternity too, but they're going to live in the lake of fire and torment. Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine the torment?
No.
I can't. So the Jewish leaders here reacted so strongly. They said, "Who do you think you are? Everybody else died. Who do you think you are?" And Jesus' answer was beautiful. He repeated what he said over and over again. He also said that if he was to say that he didn't know God, that he would be a liar just like they were liars. I'm having to use paper tonight. That was a pretty stinging rebuke to them. Only made him more angry. Then Jesus said, "Your father Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He saw it and was glad." This statement inferred that Abraham was still alive. Of course, Abraham was still alive. He was alive in soul and spirit. What's the parable that Jesus told of the rich man and Lazarus? And how they both died and they both went to Sheol, but the rich man was in torment and Lazarus was in paradise with Abraham, Father Abraham. Abraham was there.
Mm-hmm.
And this statement also inferred that Jesus had seen and interacted with Abraham. This could only be done, he could only have done this if he was God. But he'd been telling them all along that he was God. This is nothing new. He said it in a different way, that's all. He's trying to convince them. He's trying to get their attention. This was really what Jesus persisted with them. He was showing them great grace and mercy. If I was Jesus, I would have gone, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead, get out of here. But Jesus didn't. He showed them great grace and mercy and kept interacting with them. And they said, well, wait a minute, all these people died, and how can you have possibly seen them? And Jesus' reply was, before Abraham was, I am.
They knew what that meant.
Which says, I'm God.
That's correct.
And they knew it.
They knew it. When remember Moses at the burning bush, and he was talking to God, and he asked God, well, what do I tell the people who it was that sent me? And
Yeah.
God told Moses, I'm quoting from Exodus 3:14, I am who I am. Say to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. When you see them talking about in the Old Testament, and the word they use is Lord, talking about the Lord, that's Yahweh. In the Hebrew, it's Yahweh, spelled YHWH. The Hebrew doesn't have any vowels, by the way, and it's pronounced Yahweh. Yahweh means I am. So when Jesus said, before Abraham was, Yahweh, I am.
They got it very clearly.
They got it very clearly. There was no doubt about it. And it was the straw that broke the camel's back for them, and they picked up stones to stone Jesus. And what'd he do? He just melted into the crowd. Supernatural.
Well, said he hid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's amazing they don't figure it out because he keeps disappearing and walking out of the crowd.
I know.
I think he just disappeared.
I think he just disappeared. I think he did too. It wasn't his time.
Yep.
It wasn't his time. It wasn't to come for 6 more months. It wasn't his time. And so because it wasn't his time, he just disappeared. I think he literally disappeared.
Well,
Yeah.
as you just take 2 steps and you're in a crowd, you might as well disappear.
He's God. He could do whatever he wanted to do. They're speaking to the living God. Should we be surprised at anything that he does? No, not at all. When his time came, and we'll study this later in John, he willingly gave himself up to them for you and me. When it was time, he willingly gave himself up for us,
Mm-hmm.
so that we could be saved from our sin and the penalty of sin, which is death. What a story. What a story. That's a powerful, powerful story. And it would have been too much to try to finish last week. So, but man. And next week we begin studying John chapter 9. One of my favorite chapters in John is John chapter 9, the story of the blind man that Jesus heals, the man born blind that Jesus heals. It's a story that's only told in the Gospel of John. It's not told anywhere else. But it's a beautiful, beautiful story, and we're going to get to study it, and it'll be good. And anybody have any questions, comments?
Complaints.
Okay, let me stop.